Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album, and I'm actually going to see them play this album live, do a live stream of it through a Patreon. So yeah, see, today we're going to be looking into one of the most interesting debut albums in the deathcore genre. As you can see below the title, today we're going to be looking into Dead in My Arms by Carnifex, the band's debut full-length album released in July of 2007 through Uprising Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Carnifex, they're a deathcore band from San Diego, California, and these guys have been around since 2005, and they've been around for 15 years, which is kind of crazy. I heard they actually had their first practice a couple days. Well, the couple days ago would have been the 15 years since they first got back together and all this stuff. Yeah, and these guys, from what Carnifex makes stand out from all the other deathcore bands? Well, they have the deathcore stuff, but they also have musically they are influenced by a lot of black metal bands. In fact, my buddy Scott Lewis, their vocalist, has a little bit of those black metalist vocals because he really loves Cradle of Filth, Dimmu Borgir and stuff. And I could definitely tell musically it has some of those parts, especially the tremolo picked guitars and just the fast drumming. Yeah, and these guys just been playing locally all around San Diego around the time, and yeah, they have released their little self-titled EP and the Love, Lies, and Ashes EP, so local stuff, and then they got signed to their first label, Uprising, and then 2007 they dropped this album. And with this album, compared to all their later albums, it's a solid album. I mean, I wouldn't shit on it completely because there is some good stuff in here, but you feel when you listen to this album, I mean, it feels like all the songs pretty much sound the same and it just blends together. I feel like there's not really any songs that stand out from each other. But yeah, but this album is really short. It's only 33 minutes or so. And I will say the production is solid. In fact, this is only their first album with only 4 members, as opposed to all the other albums. They're a 5-piece, but this album has Scott Lewis on the vocals, and his performance on this album is great. He's one of my favorite vocalists. Just he does the most lowest of lows, and just the high shrieks is just fucking great. And guitar-wise, Corey Alford does a great job holding down the riffs. He's just riff central. I mean, some of the riffs do sound a little bit similar and bland a little bit at the time, times at some parts, but there are some parts where it actually sounds really great. Bass-wise, I kind of wish the bass was a little bit audible. I forget who played bass. This was before they got Fred, their current bass player. And drumming-wise, my buddy Sean Cameron, does a really great job drumming-wise. In fact, I feel like he's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated drummers in metal, period. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the intro, which is simply called Intro. Which has pretty much starts with a very deep chug, and just the whole band just comes right in, and then Scott just releases a bellowing scream, and it's just brutal. And I think it's a pretty good way to start off the album. And then we go into These Thoughts Become Cages, which, from what I heard, there's a couple different versions of this album. Right here I have is a digipack, and there's another version of this that doesn't have the song on it, but let's talk about it. The song These Thoughts Cages has a small buildup of guitars, and the drumming here is just punishing, and Scott's vocals just sound really brutal. It's just all over the place. And then we move on to a Slit Writ Savior, which, like many of the songs from this album, it feels like after some time it kind of loses a little bit of momentum, where I feel like the vocals become too intense for the guitars to just follow. But I feel like the song rallying, the breakdown, especially there's a little weird part which sounds like somebody saying fine, fuck you then, which kind of feels a little bit stupid and unnecessary, and it kind of takes away a little bit from the song. But nonetheless, Slit Writ Savior is pretty much another one of my favorite songs. Then we move on to Hope Lies with the Decadent, which just builds up and it just explodes. Has some massive guitars and just shouting. It's just thrown into a heap. And the song, I feel like after a while does improve a bit, especially around the 3-minute mark, where I feel like the melodic riffs start just coming in more, and I feel like this is one of the more standout songs from Carnifex, in my opinion, one of the most underrated songs. Next song on the album is called Lie to My Face, and this song is pretty much one of Carnifex's well-known songs. It has just the lyrics of the song just sound like lie to me. It's just screamed over and over. It just has some really just insane drumming and just some insane guitar parts, and I just love how the song just climax that just pauses, and I heard somebody just scream like "What the fuck," and then just a brutal breakdown just coming in, and just another great song, one of my favorites. Next song is Love Lies in Ashes, which pretty much has, in my opinion, the best intro on the album, and it feels like it sounds like true deathcore. I feel like, however, sort of like after the intro, I feel like it kind of loses a little bit of intensity, but it has like a really great riff around like a minute and 40 seconds, and the song just continues, and everything also sounds a little bit too similar, which kind of presents one of the few problems with this album, is like every song just sounds pretty much the same. But yeah, and then there's like an open riff in the Love Lies in Ashes, and a great breakdown. It kind of like tires you after a little while, but yeah. Moving on to A Winter in Remorse, which starts off with a little tap of the drums just all over the place. It just sounds like I mentioned before, all the other songs after a while. Collaborating Like Killers, which kind of starts off with a 6-scream like scratch. Kind of sounds just like the last song, but it has like a little bit of like tremolo picked guitars, which makes it a little bit different. Moving on to My Heart in Atrophy, which this song is really good, and I really enjoy sort of like the very kind of like slow and slam like parts of the song. It's pretty much another one of my favorite Carnifex songs, and I feel like these guys really need to play this song more. Then we move on to Dead in My Eyes, which has like a phaser kind of like laden riff with some clean guitars and talking, which is actually one of the more different songs, I should say, from this album. And I don't know, I feel like this, like my only little gripe about it is like it should have been like included sooner as a break from all the other stuff from the album. But then the album closes with the title track, Dead in My Arms, which has some fast pick guitars and drums, and musically it just sounds very black metal-ish. But yeah. Now overall, Dead in My Arms by Carnifex is a pretty alright debut album, but I feel like after this album they just would get better and better and improve a lot. So if I have to give this album a score, I'm probably going to give Dead in My Arms by Carnifex probably a 7 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video, and as always, keep it metal.